for when like about real world shit. So like that's the thing is like I'm just saying that there's a conversation in words that like you said before, there's no amount of
Okay.
words that's going to hold on, let me finish. There's no amount of words that's going to get you out of this situation. Well, I'm contending that there are a lot of an enormous and like a voluminous amount of fucking words that could get you out of that scenario without you getting ripped out of the car. And this is why I prefaced this with saying you're either talking about raising an army and going to war, or we're talking about the boring intricacies of legality.
You're already at war. You're being stopped.
Wow. You're just then don't talk about this shit.
But
This is
you're
why
you're
Ethan.
you're
Only
lying
reason
about the
we're
fact that
talking
you're
to.
not under police state and you're already at war. Why are
Dude,
you stopping
No,
me?
I'm
You
I'm
don't
I'm
shut
know.
the
You're
off.
fuck, Puddles,
generating
you
revenue for
fucking
your
wanker.
boss. You're
I'm getting
lying,
really
right? This
sick
is the
of this
weird
shit.
part. Why the lies?
You're fucking
Shut
You
weird,
know
up,
dude.
that they
Puddles.
have quotas. You know that they're
Get
a
your
for-profit
pitchforks,
corporation. You
your
know that them
torches,
stopping you
and
is
fuck the police.
illegal.
Fuck the police. There you go.
Why lie about
How
those legal
incredibly
positions,
useful,
Issa?
dude. I mean, you suck. You suck, Puddles. It's been
Bro,
completely
this has been
pointless.
going on for a long time.
Yeah,
You're
you
catching the
suck, and
tail
it's
end
been
of all
going
of it.
on for a long damn time, and you're not changing. You still suck. I'd rather hear Issa out
Yeah.
because he actually has useful, practical tips.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
Esau
because
Not
teaches
just
you.
No, he doesn't.
stupid
Esau,
ideological positions that get you in trouble. It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
you guys are teaching me how to squat to piss. You and Issa. I don't squat to
Yes.
piss. Okay. Now you guys act like it's no big deal. The cop comes up there and says, "Step out of the car, asshole." Oh, hey, asshole! I'm bringing the dog. I'm gonna sniff. So you guys are skipping over all the legal issues to begin with.
Now,
You
first
squat to
off,
piss.
actually, no. You know what
No.
the
First
proper?
off, at all.
Okay,
First
okay,
off,
Yeah,
you're
teach me
go
skipping
what
ahead.
to
over
do,
the
Isa.
law.
What do we
Angry.
do
No,
when the
Be
cop
Isaac,
angry.
comes? What do we
Isaac,
kowtow?
you are skipping over the law. Okay, right off the get go. So don't make sure you tell the people that you're talking to right now that you are skipping over a couple of little
No,
due
no. I tell you,
processes.
I haven't even gotten to any of my solutions because you guys are so hell bent on being such warriors that you don't
No,
All right. Well, can
actually.
we get there?
Because
no,
Can we
like,
get to the
because like,
solution?
let me
no.
ask you a let me ask you a question. If I say to a police officer, "Hey, excuse me, wouldn't that be a denial of equal protection due process of law if you were to pull me over for making a traffic stop without probable cause of a crime having been
nope.
committed?" And what?
Because
Hold
that's an act
on.
of
Let me
treason.
ask you a question. Hold on. Is that bowing down to the police officer, or is that using my rights to create a wall to protect my liberty?
How about when he
If
asks you to
you
step out of the car? Your candy ass is going to step out of the car, is what you're telling me,
if I
right?
shoot him when he
No,
threatens
no,
my life,
hold up, Cuddles. I want this fucking
Shoot him.
answer from this guy that claims he knows every fucking thing. So your
No,
candy ass.
I'm trying to give you an
No, you're not
arsenal
trying to
to
give
work
me
with,
shit.
but you're too
You're
old for
not giving
that.
me shit. You're giving
I
me
know you.
false information.
That's just showing your low
You're not
IQ. That's
answering his
all.
No,
question.
no, you are showing your low IQ, motherfucker. You come in here
No.
arrogant as all
Only
fuck.
This
no.
Steve
You guys,
hell.
your only recourse is to fight the man because you're so low IQ, and you have
No,
other
that's not
weapons,
the.
but they're
Okay,
too
you shared
sophisticated
one
for
thing.
you.
No, you shared one thing.
Lisa, are you
You
crazy?
shared that we asked the police for the due process. I'm sorry, Lalo. I'm sorry. Right in the
Guys,
middle of Steve. Okay, Steve, if you can see that he said we asked the due process question, Isa, what after that? What when the cop says, I don't give a fuck about what you just said. Let's move it. What then? It's on record that you said that and you win later down the road. Is that what it is?
No, I'm just. Well, I'll tell you what. First off, they're not just going to steamroll over that question. And they're going to say, if you say to him, hey, well, wouldn't it be a denial of equal protection due process of law? And he says, I don't care. I said, I would say, well, do you mean that one of the judges in this fine county might not care? Do you think that you might not be like, are you not insured by the state so that you follow state protocol? Or are you just making a
Yeah, he's gonna say
decision on
take
your
it
own?
up with the judge.
Now, now, when
Take
I
it up with the
say
judge.
that, that is a legal form of going to war, okay? Because I'm not giving up my position. I'm using the law to defend my right, right? So I'm not kowtowing. I'm not kissing anyone's ass. I'm actually just legally defending myself, right?
Okay,
And
so
it
let's
has
continue.
right. It has more
Okay, let's
power
continue.
than just trying to say, "Nuh, you can't do that." That's all I'm
Okay,
saying.
so
And if
he's
you're
going
gonna
to
say,
say, "Well,
"Nuh,"
sir, the crime was committed. You were speeding. That's a crime. I need your license and registration."
I'd
yeah,
love to
but
give it to you. Okay, how about this? Do you have a charging instrument for my inspection?
no.
He's going to say
I
license and registration.
Well, if there's no charging instrument for my inspection, then how could I not fulfill the obligation necessary to discharge what you're asking for?
Let me
But
call my
first off,
supervisor.
You
I
know damn well
personally,
he's about to charge.
I'm not someone that would not have my driver's license ready or my citizen's driver's license ready. You know what I mean? Like, because I would give them the license, the registration if I had it, and all the correct paperwork, and we would take it from there. But if somebody's just going to pull you over and you're just going to be like, "Nuh-uh, I'm not even rolling my window down," I'm just saying, like, you're immediately in a physical confrontation kind of a zone, and they are well equipped for that. What they're not well equipped for is a good line of questioning that could possibly get them to go back in their vehicle and leave you the fuck alone, which is what we really want. You
So
don't
you're
want to
Yes,
go to
creating.
exactly.
war and lose your life. You want to fucking carry on so you could go get milk for your family or whatever the fuck you were doing. So, in order to avoid the dying on the roadside because you're a believer of Jesus or some bullshit, you're going to fucking defeat the officer in his own world, which is what they're not equipped for, and that's why it's the ultimate intellectual guerrilla warfare for those of us so fucking inspired. Because if you're just going to say it's a physical confrontation, they're ready for you. If you
That's what
fucking use the law, they're not ready for that, and you can fucking win.
Yeah, and I've
And I'm
seen it.
about
I've seen it
right.
like on camera happen exactly like you're describing. And they're like, when you formulate, when you're in, they're like, oh shit. And they're just like all flustered. Like they lose their momentum because they're like building momentum, waiting for you to snap so they can basically break out. Like that's what a lot of them do. You approach them like what Isa said, they are like, they'll just turn into kittens all of a sudden. Like, oh, okay.
Right, and
So
if you
Isa,
look at it from the change of your perspective, like the idea that the officers are the king's men, and you're the king, so like they're your men. So you just have to make it known that you're of the people that is a king, and you don't do that by arguing with them. You do that by using your authority within the legal framework. And either we're going to discuss the authority you have in the legal framework, or you're going to go on some romantic fucking epic die on the
well,
hill for your false beliefs.
but you're saying you have to create that legal framework first, because once they break into that legal framework, you can like, well, you're basically creating this legal wall. If they break the wall, you have another ability that's called, well, that's what they say, sue or lawsuit, right? Because that's
Right.
the
Well,
only
look at it
law.
like this. Is a police officer insured and why?
Pretty sure they
For
are.
well because
Oh
they
yeah,
don't know all
they're
those laws,
bonded.
right? These
They're bonded.
yeah,
They're
these
called
guys
it's
aren't
called
going to
a
be able to handle it.
hold on. Why are they bonded?
because they do mistakes.
Exactly. And what happens if they make a mistake? Why are they bonded? Why is there an insurance policy? So the person, the victim, can get paid, right? Because it's generally understood that officers make mistakes. And so when you present a legal protocol hiccup that they can't cover, they don't want to be a part of it because it makes it very difficult for them. And if you know what you're doing and you sound like you know what you're doing and you know how to file a lawsuit, they don't want nothing to do with it. And that's the point is like either you're going to have this legal discussion or you're going to talk about raising an army and being a fucking hero in some
So,
mythical
Yeah,
so that's
that's
what,
fucking world.
so,
so I'm gonna
so
be
that's
honest,
what,
that actually works. Like when you get them into like some kind of quagmire, like they start to look at everything from like oh, did we cover our bases kind of a lens instead of a how can we, physically force this guy.
Right. And if you, as
well,
soon as you say no and nah and all that, you give them the right in their model, in this system that we live in, to break your window open, pull you out of the vehicle, throw you in jail, and let the fucking cop, let the judge sort it out. Well, I just want to go to the store, get my milk, and go home. I'm not
I,
trying to fucking have this like legal epic battle on the fucking hill of Calgary. I'm not trying to go in front of the judge. I'm trying to walk. So, like, what I'm saying is that the Christ, the ecclesiastical system that we live in, and the ecclesiastical system we live in, there's a way presented for you. But going to war with them is not what the Bible says, and it's not what the fucking system is, and it doesn't work. They literally have a gun on their hip in case you want to get wise. So if there's another way, then that's the discussion. If you're just going to be angry and fucking get your pitchforks, I mean, good luck. I don't want no part in it. I think it's a fool's errand.
I know that's why they
Yeah,
yell
once
out, "Stop
again, you're not.
resisting."
Yeah,
That's
you're
why they
not
say, "Stop
even
resisting."
telling us what we're talking about. But that's yeah, you sound really good, but that's not. You're kind of skipping over a few legalities to begin with. So that's kind of where you get a little bit lost. And
Well,
you're
I'm already expecting you to have a general understanding. I mean,
yeah,
but
I'm
if I have to
expecting you
hold,
to have a
if I have
brain.
to
I'm
hold your
expecting you to have
hand
a brain
and
and
walk you
not
through
come out here and
everything,
fucking
then I'm not
yeah.
going
No,
to
listen,
bother.
listen. Yeah, Isa.
I know
No
you're an
one
anger
died and
addict,
made
dude.
no
Yo,
one
be
died and
angrier.
made you God.
Get
Okay.
angrier. It seems like it's working
No,
for you.
I'm not angry,
All right,
Isa. I just because
I'm
I
gonna
call
solve
you
this
full
real
of
quick for you,
bullshit
Steve.
doesn't make me angry. Okay.
I'm gonna solve this
Because
real quick for you,
you're
Steve.
skipping over some factual things. Okay.
One second here, Steve. See, the other day you were bragging about how being disabled um, is a blessing because you have immediate access to 50 lawyers. Now, all Issa is saying, what if you just had a fraction of that knowledge and you used it in your favor?
That's what
That's
I'm
all he's
talking
saying.
about. That's all I'm saying. See, but he's misleading me on the
Uh,
beginning. See, yeah, people like to take a couple,
How?
3, 4, because you're taking 3 or 4 steps beyond the law that was already given. So you're
Well,
skipping
you have
over
to
the
know.
Constitution to begin with. Okay.
You
And you're
you
not
have to make
separating.
an
Yeah.
assessment.
Yeah.
If you have an army in front of you, do you fight the army or you talk your way out of it? I mean, I guess that's your judgment call, but these are
Oh,
two different modes of operation.
yeah, that's what we're talking. Yeah, you're the one going to 2 different. I'm sticking on one legality. Okay,
Well,
I'm not talking
Okay,
about no
so
fucking
just go
war or
call your
nothing.
lawyers then and stop bitching because you
Yeah,
ain't doing nothing
that's what
anyway.
I'm doing right now. I'm calling a lawyer and trying to
Okay,
emphasize
we'll be
where
waiting for
Isa
a
is.
call from your lawyer, bro. We don't need it.
Yeah,
We don't need
yeah,
this lip
yeah. Why don't
service.
you?
Get your
Yeah, yeah.
lawyer.
You're gonna continue to bullshit too, Riggs. That's cool.
Well, I'm just playing your game, man.
It's
I'm
not
just
my
playing your
game. I
game.
don't play a fucking game.
well,
There's a legalities. Everything is legal. Okay,
Okay, Steve, what
including
did I
God.
miss? Tell me what I missed. What did I miss, Steve?
that you're
Okay, well,
innocent.
number one, do you roll with God then you? Okay, a simple little rule, simple little law. If you don't understand that law, you're going to have a hard time following the rest of them because where they become illegal laws, then you're skipping over the illegal laws that
Hold
they
on.
enforce
I
on
didn't
you.
understand a word you just said. Can you say it
Yeah,
again?
I
What
know
did I
you didn't
miss?
because you
Okay, yeah,
don't
yeah. No,
admit
I'm
that
retarded, bro.
God.
I'm retarded.
Answer the
Explain it to
first
me like I'm a
question.
kid.
Answer the first question. God then you. Yes or
That's
no?
not a question. That's a
Yes,
statement.
yeah, it is. It tells me how you operate.
What's the
Are you God?
question? If I say God is God or you, that's not a
Yeah,
question.
yeah, it
What is the
is.
question? What's the
Very
question?
simple.
Are you
A very
above God?
simple.
I'm sorry. What's the question?
Are you above God or yourself?
Of course not. So I look at it. God is sovereign. I am not.
But he gave you what? What did God give you, Isaac?
Intelligence.
Man, yeah, exactly. And plus man. He made you a man.
And don't men hold on? And don't men have intelligence, Steve?
That's what we're talking about, Isa. We're talking about the
Okay, so
lies. We're talking about the lies we live under. Go ahead.
what lies? What
What
fucking
lies?
lies?
What
Yeah,
lies? Are you fucking
yeah. What are you
shitting
gonna
me?
whine about
You
today?
you
What are we
fucking
whining about
spinning you
today?
spinning ball fucking nut. Are you fucking shitting me? What lies?
What does that
Yeah,
have to
the
do
law.
with
You
legality?
fucking nut. You just told me how smart you were and we live in on a spinning ball, you fucking retard.
He's saying that the laws and all this
Wow.
webs of lies, there's nothing. It's a big old fluff. So when they're trying to apply it to you, it's all lies. But I get what you were saying, Isa. You're in a way you have to maneuver through the lies, even though it's all big
It's
old
not.
fluff.
How about this? It's not lies. Like Article 13, right? There's no involuntary servitude. Well, you fucking signed up for this. We signed up to be members of our society when we partake in the actions of our society. So, therefore, we've willingly subjected ourselves to a rational form of government in order to separate ourselves from the law of the jungle, which is what some people think is like the real law, which is what is it's just a devolution into, you know, an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. That's why that's the whole purpose of the gospel is the idea to save us from the whole eye for an eye thing because there's another way through.
Yeah, from idiots.
Forgiveness, right?
Yeah,
No
correct. Correct.
forgiveness.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Save
is the
me, save
Bible
me from idiots.
oh
Save
my
me
god.
from idiots.
So
Correct.
is the Bible all bullshit, Steve?
Uh, now we're going to bring up the Bible. Okay, we're talking about God's word, right? Now you
You're talking
understand
about
God.
God. You brought up God.
We're talking about freedoms, right? You being a man. Yeah, God gave those rights to you. Yeah, that's a fact. That's why we come out here, fight, square up. We don't start bullshitting other people about fucking spinning balls.
You square up with the police. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, obviously, maybe you've never encountered them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just think like squaring up with the law, right? As like in a physical confrontation.
No, who
Hold
the
on.
fuck is invoking? No, you're the only one fucking invoking physical. Okay.
No, you're the only one. How am I the only? Didn't I just offer you a solution in the sense that you would say to the officer, "Hey, are you denying equal protection due process of law?" Like, do you see that that is actually defending my rights without
Well,
actually taking part in war,
Isa,
like
well,
physical violence? You know what I mean?
sometimes what Cuddle's saying that we're already at war. Are the police already give us? They're telling us that we're criminals already, like without because I mean I think we have this notion of we're innocent until proven guilty, but I think no, it's we're guilty until we're proven innocent because you have to present yourself that you are innocent because I think you are guilty in the police's eyes, but you have to present yourself that you are innocent because once that you present yourself that you're innocent and then they still violate you, now you have this lawsuit in your hands that I proved myself that I was innocent. You violated my rights. Now I can sue you. But it would if people want to square up, or I don't know, like resist, like physically, I don't know. You just present more legality for the police officer to use physical force or put more articles or laws to put you in jail. So do they see you as a criminal already when they stop you?
Yep, and you're a U.S. citizen, which is classified as an enemy of the state, right? So nobody's hiding anything. We should already know your U.S. citizen, right, is a foreigner in the state that it's in, right? So if you're
Everybody
operating in the
knows that.
capacity, what's up?
I said everybody knows that, right? Everybody, right?
Do they? Do they though?
Yeah. No shit. Nobody knows it. That's
I
what I'm
didn't know
saying.
that.
Sometimes
Exactly.
you just
So hold
I
on.
didn't
So
know
all
that.
I'm making is the case. So
So,
if people understood that a U.S. citizen is, and like we can't even get there because we're not rolling the window down even yet, right? So the point is that like what I'm saying is that if you have the context, there is no lie, there is no fraud. Everything is fucking open and available for you to understand. A choice of not reading it or not understanding it is a choice to remain ignorant. But nobody's lying to anyone. Nobody's like the information is all available. So you're a U.S. citizen, which is considered an enemy of the state. So that's why you need that's residence and a license and all that. That's because you're a foreign agent from Washington D.C. who has residence in a particular state, right? And so when you have that kind of initial thing, they're gonna look at you as like, yes, you could look at it like you're guilty
Right.
before innocent.
But the
But at the
cops don't
same
even know
time,
that, though.
fair enough. Right. You can't even get there because it won't roll the fucking window down. But like the point is that with that understanding and the open understanding that that's how they're operating, you also have like Title 18, in the code that allows for you to have certain unalienable rights protected within the code. But you would need to know the code in order to be able to do that. But nothing's hidden. There is no fraud. No one's a fucking criminal. It's all out in the open. It's just a matter of are you going to play within the context of the game? And if not, they've got a gun on their hip waiting for you to not want to play in the game.
yeah,
Where'd you
exactly. You just invoke
where'd
what
you
we
get
talk
your
about. Yeah, just you invoke what we talk about. Ignorance of the law is an excuse. Correct. Yeah.
where'd you guys
As
go to law
long as
school?
No, ignorance of the law is of no excuse. That's the maximum.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
Well,
we
Yeah.
understand
So
that.
Right.
is it
So the
similar like
ignorance is not an excuse.
That's why when
is it,
you talk, we expect you to educate us. Same with Cuddles. When he talks, we expect him to educate us about
well,
the law.
it's like we signed these when we got the Discord app, who read the terms and services? We just signed it away and just got on the app. You know, I think it's kind of similar too. But when do we sign? But you said, when do we sign the system? When we're born, or is it I sign something when I get a driver license? When is
No,
it
it's
something like that?
acquiescence. It's acquiescence. There's a great book, Brian Blum's Contracts, Examples, and Explanations. It's called Acquiescence. Like, for instance, if you and I were roommates and your keys for your car are on the table, and I walk up to you and I say, Yo, Laylo, can I take your car to go get milk? And you don't say anything. And then I say, Hey, yo, do you mind if I take your car? I'm going to go get milk. And then you don't say anything again. Then I take your keys off the table, walk out the door, and get in your car, and you don't say anything. You have acquiesced essentially and agreed that I could take your car, right?
Where'd you go to
Um,
law school?
I don't think so. It's like I didn't say anything. Why it gives you the right to still take the car?
Right,
I
but
have
well, I'm just saying that's what if you don't say anything, if your non-action in regards to that matter kind of grants me the what's called acquiescence
but I have
and
to be
and
present.
the ability to take the car. And all I'm trying to say is that when we participate in the system, i.e., you're driving a car with a VIN number that's been registered that you paid United States dollars for, you've kind of acquiesced into the system that we have available for us. Now, I'm not going to argue that you had a choice or you know what I mean? Like you could argue that you were
Mhm.
forced into it. You could argue all that. And you could try to take them up on the law of conquest game and try to raise an army, but I just think that that's retarded if you just want to go to the store, get milk and bring it back home. All I'm saying is that
You were present.
what's up? Like you were
He
present.
said he has to be present, right? And you skipped over. It's like, yes, you're present, and you don't. You're notified, and you don't respond. That's like the acquiesce.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yes.
saying. But in the
So
same
like
time,
it,
I wasn't present at court or something like that, because if I just got a bunch of letters, yeah, yeah. But in the system, you're saying just because when I was born, I wasn't aware of the law or
well, even if
the
you that's
system.
well, think about it like this: we
It's
have a
called common
secular
law.
system. We have a secular system, right? Backed up by an ecclesiastical system. Now, the secular system cannot teach you about the ecclesiastical relationship of government. That is our parents' duty. And our parents, and for whatever reason, we've kind of
Mm,
lost track of this. So, our parents, it is the parents' responsibility to teach the religious aspect of our system to their children. The system itself is secular and cannot teach you about it. And it has rules that says that your ignorance about the ecclesiastical side is not their responsibility, it's yours. So we're involved in a system that is an ecclesiastical system that can't, by its very nature, tell you about the ecclesiastical nature of it. But your parents could have, you could have, and this is why the way of the Christ is so important and the conditional acceptance is so important. Because when the officer comes up to the side of the door and says, get out of the car, you could say, I'd love to, so long as you could show me you got a charging instrument for my inspection. That's completely that's like defending yourself with what I mean with warfare on in a legal game because you're setting up illegal parameters with which they have to deal with because everything they have to deal with is protocol and procedure. And if they violate protocol and procedure, that's why good lawyers get cases thrown away. So you can create your own legal hiccups either on the side of the road, and if necessary, you could enforce it in a court. But the point is that you're either going to do that or you're going to fucking try to go to war at some point. And all I'm trying to say is that if you're going to go to war, that's completely different than trying to decipher the knot of this legal issue that we're in.
But
Whether
okay, I
it's
get
right,
it now. I
but
see it.
whether it's
I
right
see it
or
now.
wrong, moral. I'm not
in a
justifying the morality of it, but they're
but
they're
in a
not lying.
Levitical system, by our own internal composition, we're allowed to go through the amalgamation to figure out if we're righteous or not, no matter who's pursuing us. So by the Levitical system, I would say that would be the arrangement that we should honor.
Well, I've never heard of a Levitical system. Like, are you referring to like the ecclesiastical, or are you taking it into some Jewish precept?
No, the Levitical system. Look into it. It's really it's kind of mind blowing
Yeah.
the first time I looked at it.
There's actually a methodology. I heard that. But I did notice. Well, actually, I'll wait. I think that you were going to make a point, Issa.
No, you're good. I mean, I'm just saying that we have like legal, recourse that we can use, and I just think that that's the conversation I'd choose to have versus
I thought,
like the whole, you know.
well, Issa, well, I thought like everything started like in the 1941, the whole Federal Reserve thing. But when we took off the golden standard, that everybody's already applying to it, and it just became a cynical way to
Well, what
sign on to
happened?
the.
Well, the way I'll briefly go through it is like the idea that so the U.S. loses the Revolutionary War, they're indebted to Great Britain. Great Britain is indebted to the Vatican from an agreement from 1215. Now I'll just leave it at that. But like, so 70 years in international business, there's like 70-year contracts. So 70 years after the signing of the Constitution and the creation of the United States, where they put the debt onto it, and so in 70 years they couldn't pay the debt, so they defaulted. The North took the South's property, the freed slave, and made them collateral on the national debt by making them U.S. or well, it wasn't defined as such, but as government citizens. So the collateral was the government citizen, which was the freed slave. And then they created a new currency, the green, whatever the currency there. And then 70 years after that, we come into 1933, and all of the United States, we default on the debt, and then all of the United States citizens, or all of the state citizens became United States citizens, which was the collateral on the debt, which allowed it for us to have another line of credit. 70 years after that, they fucking blow up the financial institution in New York City because it's the 3 terms of 70 years. In Jewish banking, there's a thing called a jubilee where we're free of those contracts. But the point is that the U.S. citizen was the collateral on the debt. This is why always people, in certain circles talk about, oh, when a baby is born, it already owes $200,000, to the national debt or whatever. That's that kind of idea, is that the citizen itself, the U.S. citizen, is the collateral. That's the backdrop of this information, right? So like all U.S. citizens are the collateral on the national debt. That's why they had the Trading with the Enemy Act, and they labeled the United States citizen the enemy of the state. That's why you need a driver's license and all these kinds of permissions, because you're considered to be a foreign entity from Washington, D.C., residing in the state, and you're going to go back to the fucking United States. So you're not even like the U.S. citizen is not classified as a state citizen. So there's actually a thing called capacity. And capacity is like when you could go to dinner or go to lunch as the, chief executive for this company and write it off versus the president at dinner of another company you own. And you could write that dinner off. So you have like capacity. You can, legally you can change form. This is why this complex topic is so much more nuanced than just going to war with the system and we're all being lied to, bro. And I just think but we have legal fucking ramifications, and it's set up to benefit us. We just don't see it that way, so we're not looking for the remedy. Where an officer on the side of the road, it's a problem for them if you're like, well, I'd love to, so long as you have a genuine accusatory charging instrument for my inspection upon proof of claim. I'm not the priority security interest holder appearing, especially not genuinely for you. You know what I mean? Like you could fucking hit him in the head with a bunch of like words
But
and language.
the way you say it, it feels like we're forced to play the game, because if you don't play the game, there are consequences for not playing the game.
I mean, do you want to cry about it? Write a song about it? Write a book about
Yeah.
it? You know what I mean? Because like that's how I feel when people are like, "Yo, but they're lying to us." It's like, yeah, I mean, I get it, but what are we gonna do next? Hold hands and fucking sing "Kumbaya" with our dicks in our other hand? Like, it just makes no sense. So, granted, like
It's
it
been
might
done.
be,
It
and
has been done.
I'm not
Michael
saying it's like
Jackson, Ice Cube, fuck the police. They don't give a
how'd
shit
that
You
work
about
think
out
us.
for
you're
Michael
going to be able
Jackson?
to change it?
How'd that work
That's
out for
the
Michael
point.
Jackson?
Well, Ice
Fine,
Cube still, Ice Cube
fine,
still around.
yeah. Well, I mean, you
I'm
got
just
to play the
saying.
game. Don't hate the player, hate the game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's that pimp
Well, I'm just
talk,
saying
right? That's
because
that Ice T pimp talk, you know?
It's like
Give
you
me the
said,
ball.
well,
Watch
how
what I do with it.
Michael Jackson did sing about it. Well, like you said, and what happened to him.
Right, they killed him. He also bought his own catalog from Sony and the Beatles, and they killed him. You know, but
You
like
can't
I'm
write a
just
song about it.
yeah, oh yeah, no, you can write a song about it, but they might. You know, I'm just saying, like, like I've said, it's like there's only two types of people: creditors and debtors, and debtors never win, and
They took
creditors
his
never
catalog right
lose.
back.
What's up?
They took it right back.
Yeah, no
They
doubt,
took Mike's catalog right back and they made Ice Cube wear a dress or whatever.
exactly. So like, you know, all I'm saying is like, you don't have to participate in that if they're gonna like that. I don't know. I just think of it like there's an ecclesiastical realm of our system that preserves God's people because man was given dominion over the earth. So man is responsible for understanding all the aspects of earth. And there's nothing more important in my mind than the aspect of your freedom. You know, so when you have like the opportunity to preserve yourself through manners and decency and the minutia in the law, you know, you could save yourself. And the Christ, I think, in the Bible teaches you how to save yourself. And like, you know, but if we're gonna fucking go to war, that's completely different. If you're gonna say all cops are evil and this, that, the other thing, then that to me goes against the you know the Bible where it says, you know, be ye not conformed to the world, but be renewed by a continual transformation of the mind to
Yeah,
prove that which God has made is good.
I get all that, but like there's a higher system. Like, so what I believe, like in the core method of the Levitical system, all legal norms like originate from a closed canon of foundational statutes, treated as axiomatic rather than negotiable. Like interpretation isn't
Oh,
permitted, but
yeah.
amendment is not. Sorry, interpretation is permitted, but amendment is not. So legal certainty is kind of minimized by maintaining a finite, like immutable source of law. So
Okay,
legal
so let's deal with
actors
this.
are trained.
Let's deal with
Legal,
this.
hold on, one
Hold
more
on.
thing.
Hold
One
on.
more thing. You talked for 10 minutes. One more thing. Legal actors are trained to,
I
interpret
agree with you.
within these defined boundaries, but not expand them. So it's just,
No,
I
I
don't know.
agree with you.
I see your
I
point, but Levitical
listen.
system kind of appeals a little bit more to me. But I get your
Okay,
point.
let's do some simple fucking contracting, right? Let's say you go out to dinner with your wife, right? You sit down and you have a beautiful steak dinner, okay? Now, when you're done eating your dinner, the maitre d' or whatever, or the your waiter comes over and says, "Now you have to wash all of these dishes." What is going to be your first answer to that? What would you
Well,
say if you just hold on? What would you say? You just had
you
dinner
asked me
with
a
your wife.
question.
Okay, go on then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my response to that, like in that scenario, I see the legal responsibility is assessed primarily through like a role classification, not individual intent alone. So that's a tough question. Like I'm kind of torn between
Okay,
the
well, I'll
two
tell you,
sides.
there's a very simple answer, and I want to see if you get it. We go out to dinner, and now the guy comes to you and says, "Hey, for that dinner, you guys need to go wash dishes." What would be the most rational, normie fucking thing you could ever say if they were to say that to you?
Well,
I would say each
You say,
individual
show me the
occupies.
bill.
Well,
You say, show
Yeah.
me the
okay.
bill.
each
Yep.
individual and each individual occupies a defined societal role with corresponding
Hold on,
obligations.
let me shut all that jargon down. Look,
Yeah.
if I go to eat steak and I have a fucking dinner and the guy comes and says to me, "You need to wash the dishes," wouldn't the most appropriate thing for me to say was, "Wait a minute, how about you just give me the bill?" Right? Wouldn't that be the most fucking reasonable thing to do?
Do you mind if I give some
Yeah,
input?
go ahead. I see. Yeah.
Well, I think it's really just that what you're talking about, Wes, allows for proportional enforcement while preserving the systematic consistency overall, right? Wouldn't you agree?
And
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, it
No,
sounds like you guys are just
that's
reading
exactly my
something and
point.
passing it in DM. So is this coming off the
Hold
dome or
on.
you guys just
Who
reading
is it?
something? Sounds like you
What are you
guys are
talking
reading
about?
a script.
No,
What?
no, it's
Let
the
him out.
Levitical system.
Yeah, say
Go ahead.
what you're
Well,
gonna say, brother.
I think Wes was. Go ahead.
Well, there's it's kind of a tiered, taxonomy where there's structural violations like acts that destabilize communal order, or ritual violations. That's like in the Levitical system, they act as a breach of some symbolic or procedural norms. So
Well, check it out. If I go to eat dinner, isn't it a violation of procedural norms for them to say, you got to wash the dishes? Like, especially when I could say, hey, where's the bill? And now I'm not going to, that's I guess rhetorical, but like my
yeah,
point
no,
is this.
I get you.
Okay, so
What would you do in your paradigm?
no, I would just say, well, where's the bill? And my point
Yeah.
is that this, when an officer comes up to the side, if they're going to charge you with something, if the system is going to charge you with something, you have a right to request the bill. UCC 9210. And that's the Uniform Commercial Code. And if they don't present you the bill, then they have no then it's considered discharged. So
Yeah.
if I ask for the bill and nobody gives me the bill, that is a procedural problem for the institution. Agreed?
Oh yeah, they're not following the procedure and the policies that are
Right.
set up.
Exactly. So then when I go to court, let's say for an officer or the guy who made me wash dishes, I can show the judge, hey, this guy deviated from the usual contractual norm. And in doing so,
Mm.
he violated my rights, and therefore I motion the case to be dismissed. Got it?
Yeah, Arwen, is this like the same as in Netherlands? I think Issa, you're in the U.S. Like, do they still have the same type of policies? Like,
It's everywhere, man. Anything under the IMF, it's like this.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm. It's a good point, though. Thanks for bringing that up, Wes. I have read about that.
Yeah, like the IMF, anything under the IMF is dealing with the Uniform Commercial Code. And the Uniform Commercial, I mean, I've been in court and I've done so much shit that, like I've had judges say, oh, the UCC has no place in this courtroom. And I was stumped. And what I should have said was, do you mean to tell me you're not asking me for money? Huh?
Was
And
that
you're going to
directed to
say that,
Was that directed to Arwen or someone else?
just the room, just the room.
Oh, the room. Okay.
But all I mean is, like, if you study the UCC, it's like it's kind of common sense, but in the UCC it's codified because the UCC was codified in 1940s in order to deal with the financial system that was created in the 30s. So, but the Uniform Commercial Code wasn't like, it was kind of like it was codified after they created the system that we live in, because we live in a fiat currency that really kind of has no backing other than the U.S. citizen itself. So they codified these terms, and the way, that are ancient terms, but they're just codified now. And that's the cool part about it, is that you can study it. And I would recommend UCC 9210, UCC 3603. And because you're asking them for the charging instrument, if they don't provide it, they have fucked up protocol. And even if no one else in the world ever asks for the bill, it doesn't mean that when you ask for the bill and they fail to provide it, that they aren't in violation. It's just nobody thinks outside of the box. So you're setting them up for a problem, because the cop is not gonna have the charging instrument. You're a guaranteed winner. This is why it said
What did
creditors
you
never
say?
lose.
What did you say the judge says to you? And then you should have asked him if he's asking you for money.
Well, think about it like
What
this.
was the
Like, I
thing the
brought up
judge said?
I had UCC in a
I
paper. I
just
had
missed
some.
what you said the judge said, Isa. You said
I
the
get it.
judge
I'm
said
trying to
this to
explain it
me,
to
and
you.
I should. I just need the phrase, bro. The phrase I didn't hear you say.
Okay, well, if I'm bringing up the UCC in the court and the judge says to me that the UCC has no place in this courtroom, right? I could turn to the judge and say, "Excuse me,
Okay.
do you mean to tell me that there is not a financial charge attached to this issue?
Okay.
Because
So if
you
you hand
can't
wave
have."
the UCC, then
I'm just saying, like, if you're going to hand wave the UCC, then how dare you ask me for money? Commerce. You're asking me for
The
money,
courts?
but you're going to
Yeah,
tell me you're going to throw away the rules about money? You can't do that.
yeah, but does the courts have the amygdalation or the authority to enforce that rule?
Not well. They have the ability to make you think that they can enforce that rule, but like I said, it's like I've fumbled more times than I've won almost, and you know, like it goes. And like, but like, I wish I would have heard his response when I said, you know, because I haven't had the quick wittedness to say it at the time, but I still won that case. But at the same time, it was through other means. And I'm just trying to say that when you bring, like, if they're gonna say, like, it's like if you're stealing first base in baseball and they say, hey, stealing is a crime, you could say, well, it's part of the rules in baseball, right? And they're kind of like, oh yeah, that's right. You can steal a fucking, you know, or steal second base. You know what I mean? Like, but so they're trying to impose some morality about stealing second base when you're saying to them, well, dude, this is fucking part of the game. And they can't depart from that. You can't get ejected from the game for the moral crime of stealing second base. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'm
So they're
tracking
gonna
with
say,
you. I'm tracking with you 100%. I really never thought about it that way.
right. And so that if they're bringing up, you know, they're asking you for money. And then they're going to say, well, the rules about money don't apply here. They can't do that. But they can tell you that you can't do that. And that's where it's your job to turn the other cheek and conditionally accept it. Well, I'd love to accept that the UCC isn't applicable in this courtroom so long as you could show me you're not asking me for this much money. And if you can't show me that you're not asking me for money, then let the record show the Uniform Commercial Code is applicable in this matter. And the judge is going to have to sit there and eat it. And I've watched them eat it. I have watched them fucking eat it, man. And it's just a matter of, do you have the faith to actually stand up like a fucking soldier and fucking ask
Right.
that
But
question?
okay. Yeah. What if they're asking you for jail time and not?
Well, let me see the charging instrument. And then UCC 3603. Look up UCC. Somebody read, it's tender of payment. When tender of payment is made to the one entitled to the enforcing instrument and the tender of payment is refused, there is discharge. Now, that's a
Because
whole
it's
nother rabbit hole.
disbarred. Yeah.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole. But I'm just saying, like, we have we have a fucking legal arsenal ready to back us if we know how to think on our feet and we understand the game. And then in that way, you're a fucking useful soldier. You're not some fucking collateral damage on a hillside. You know, because there's a fucking way, like, there is almost like a war. There is a fucking whatever. But the point is that you're supposed to never, like, you can't fucking look at it through that lens. You've got to look at it like you're dealing with children that don't understand this is why Cuddles can say shit like, oh, that's why I got to deal with them like children and shit. You're not dealing with like children out of disrespect. You're showing them the finer points of the law. It's like I had officers that wanted to search my vehicle one time. You know, and I'd love to, so long as you could show me you didn't pull me over without probable cause of a crime having been committed. And the cop goes, well, you were speeding. And I go, well, you mean to tell me that one of the honorable judges in this county doesn't know the distinction between a crime and an infraction? So wouldn't you be denying equal protection, due process of law, and accepting a $10,000 penalty? And that's when everything kind of changed because they were like, oh, shit. You know, because I was kind of like, hey, I was like, let the record show if you want to search the car. You agree that I can file a $10,000 lien on your property in your fucking town where you live. And I'm going to need the dash cam footage. Because if you operate, it's just like it's just like the keys on the table. You want to it's like, because if you come and ask me, hey, can I come take your key, the keys and take your car to go to the thing? And instead of being silent, I go, well, I'd love to, so long as you buy me, a set of ribs from the store, get me 3 tins of dip, fill up my gas tank. And could you run these couple of errands for me over here? And if you could just, when you get done with that, go pick up a bag of rice over at this place. And I start fucking laying on that shit. All of a sudden, taking my car doesn't seem as fun. Doesn't seem as worthwhile for you. And that's the point, that's the negotiation. You have the unlimited right to negotiate. And you have every right to put those stipulations on it if it's if it's applicable. We're so fucking free, but we're so quick to anger and so ready to fight that we've got our head up our ass. When you have this whole legal framework that is like built to preserve your fucking right to travel if you understand it. You know? And that's why it's so important, like the transformation of the mind to prove that which God has made is good. So there's no fraud. You have to let all that go. And when the officer comes up to the side of the road, you got to treat him like, I mean, for all you know, that officer is pulling you over so that you can help him go save an old woman trapped in a building. You don't know. And you've got to treat it that way. You can't just be like, oh, fucking road pirate. I'm not going to fucking da-da-da-da. You want to be like, hey, brother, how can I help you, man? What do we got going? Like, do we have to help somebody? Like, what's the emergency? How do I help you? And then they're going to be like, well, no, it's not that big of a deal. I just need your license and registration. Okay, well, I'm in a vehicle with a registration or, with a license plate. Therefore, I've agreed that I have to have here's my license, registration, and insurance, brother. Hope you know everything's good with me. And then, like, if they come back and they say, well, we'd like to search your vehicle, could be like, well, I'll tell you what, I'd love to, so long as you're willing to accept a $10,000 penalty for deprivation of rights under the color of law, bud. You cool with that too? And they're going to be like, well, could you step out of the vehicle? And that's where my line has always been, yeah, is it going to make you feel safe? And they go, yeah. And then I go, well, I'll get out of the vehicle to make you feel safe. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to grant what is grantable and not grant what is preservable. And I ultimately look at these people as the officers and shit as the king's men, and I'm the king. They're your men. Don't be harsh with them. Don't be mean to them. Don't be, who do you want as an officer when your grandmother's in a burning building? Do you want some pencil-necked fucking constitutional lawyer, or do you want a roided out motherfucker that's going to break the door down and save grandma? I want the roided out motherfucker that's going to save grandma. The trick is just to be able to quell that roided out dude on the side of the road is the issue. And if they pull their gun and they say, hey, quack like a duck, then you might be like, over my objection under threat, duress, and coercion, I'll quack like a duck and do what you tell me. Just to, over my objection, just to not get shot by you. Quack, quack. Like, you have all these and then at that point, they've violated all fucking forms of law because you've been polite. You've given them what they've asked for. They're taking it to their own level, and they're insured by the state because it's well understood that roided out cops make mistakes. So you're using that very system to contain this beast. And that takes more intellectual effort than just like, no, I'm going to get my gun.
I mean, to be fair, Granny's bones are probably fragile. I don't know about the roided, the roided rescuer, but that's just my 2 cents.
Well, you said that it's not fraud, not lies, but is that just for bodies? Because a lot of people do kind of agree that the money system, and it is based on fraud.
You were cracking up quite a bit.
You're saying that a lot of people think it is fraud, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, the money, the financial system, that side. But of course, the legal side of moving people or managing people, there is a system to how to maneuver people, how to just at least to work together and get something done. And I think that is a good system, to how to maneuver people to do labor or some projects. But I think the money system, in a way, it is fraud. But still,
Well,
it's
how
a
about
system that's been
this?
given to it. Go ahead.
Well, how about that? Look at it. See, like, let's say we take a step back and just look at common contracts, okay? You gave over a birth certificate, which is considered an indented deed, to the United States from the state. They created a United States citizen and a social security account number so that you can go to the bank and have access to a line of credit. Can we all agree with that?
Okay.
Okay, so the United States has an interest to the debt that they have. Now, the point is, who do they owe? Well, the thing is that you're the one who gave them something of value, right?
Which can be, yes, which
Okay, so
is,
you gave them something of value.
yes, a
So
promise.
right, so the United States doing its bookkeeping, right? It owes you plus the interest, right? So you're the creditor. The issue is that whenever we deal with these people, we come in as in the capacity as the entity that they gave us, instead of as the entity that gave them the thing of value. That's why capacity is so important to understand.
So it's
Because,
not so it's not a false promise. There is the promise just being kicked down more and more. It's like they
well,
say,
the problem,
the debt
well,
ceiling just keeps going up.
well, the issue is that the idea is that we're not discharging the debt that the United States owes us. This is why the Bible says, "Forgive your enemy." You have to discharge the whatever amount that the United States is doing their bookkeeping to pay you back. But I've looked at it like this: like let's say I loaned you $500, right? And then I come on your property and do fucking donuts in the mud on my motorcycle. And then you come to me and say, "Hey, you did fucking $200 worth of damage on my front lawn." And then I say to you, "Well, where's the bill?" And the guy goes, "Here it is. I paid $200 to have it fixed." And then I take that instrument, turn it over, sign the back of the instrument, give it back to you, and say, "Hey, knock it off the $500 you owe me."
No, you owe me $700.
No, if check it, you owe me 500.
Yeah. Oh, I owe
I
you
come,
500.
yeah. So you owe me 500. I come do donuts on your fucking lawn, and then you say, "Hey, you owe me fucking $200." Well, I could essentially say, "Hey, knock that off of what you owe me," right? And the evidence for that would be the bill with my signature on the back, right? So now when you come, hold
You
on.
owe me
So when you
more than
come to pay
200
me,
bucks, but
check
yeah,
it
but I
out.
get what
So when you come to pay me, you're going to bring $300 and the signed document that I signed, right?
which, but no, it depends on
Do you
you if you
understand
want
what?
to evaluate
Look,
the
look.
that is the debt. That is the debt.
So what? Well, what I'm saying is, when you come to pay me the debt, you can essentially not have $200. You would just have a piece of paper that signifies the $200 of damage I did, right?
Right, but that's only if we come to agreement of the $200.
Well, we already like that's that's why I said, like, if you come to me about the $200 and I say, "Hey, well, where's the bill?" Then you give me the bill that you paid, then I turn it over, I sign it, and give it back to you. Then with that in our per our agreement, really, it's per contract law. You could use that piece of paper, that receipt with my signature on it, as effective as $200, and then you would cover the balance with 300 cash, right? That could happen,
But
right?
you're saying that that's how corporations do it when they do damage to the environment. They just kick it off the debt they owe to the
No.
to
I'm
the
saying that, well, I mean, there's a thousand ways we could discuss this, but I'm saying specifically, you gave the government $500. When you want to, if you go to the bank and take out a loan for $10, right? When the bank asks for the payment, you could say, "Hey, here's the bill. Knock the $10 off of what you owe me." But we're operating exclusively as United States citizens, which are essentially employees of the United States. God damn, this topic is so complicated. I'm like almost sick of
You
talking
just
about it.
lost
But
me.
like,
So, but you have to
I know, it's
verify.
so hard. It's like
You have to verify that you're the creditor.
you're the creditor because you're the one showing up to deal with the matter. And you're the creditor because, well, you know, if you're doing it correctly. But like the idea is that you're the one that the United States is keeping the books on because it owes you. Our problem and the reason the national debt keeps going up is because we're not settling the debt for the United States. We need to be proactively discharging any bills that we have because you can't pay a debt with a debt, which is what a fucking Federal Reserve note is. So when you pay a bill with a Federal Reserve note, it's taxed and then it's actually adding to the national debt. Where if you were to use a remittance, let's say, or something like that, you could discharge the debt that is actually owed. Now, this is like complicated and can get a lot of people in trouble if they take it too far. But I want you to understand, like, I want to try to understand what I'm saying is that we're in a position of authority, but we think we're not because we're operating as an entity that is owned by the United States. Like the idea that you have a Toyota Corolla, you're not a Toyota Corolla. And it's like we're operating as though, like, yeah, no, I'm a Toyota Corolla instead of the driver of the Toyota Corolla. And that's where we're getting this all fucked up is that we're operating as the United States citizen like we are the United States citizen instead of realizing we have a United States citizen. And you have different capacities. You have a capacity that existed before you were classified as a state citizen, and your state citizen existed before you had the capacity to be a United States citizen. And if you were to operate as either one of those, or what, you know, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, but the point is that this is the framework we're living in. And it's not fraud because you're still the creditor in the position. What is it the Bible says? My people suffer for lack of knowledge. And this is the knowledge that we're lacking because we've lost our religion, which is what the fucking UN wants, so they can make everyone a fucking human being and they can have the human rights declaration, and which is not from God. That's why they hate America, because we still have our rights considered to be from God. And that's a lot going on in that, what I've just said, but let that marinate. Any questions?
You're saying the corporations they give in to a lot of people that they're a human or they're operating as a human.
Well, people do it to themselves. And what's fucked up is you look up the definition of a human being in Bouvier's and it says it's a monster. And then you look up, it says, see the term monster. And then you look up the term monster and it says that which has no inheritable blood. So if you're going to classify yourself legally as a human being, you're going to get the boot on your neck. And everyone's like, I'm just a human being, you know? I'm like a human being just existing. You know, like it's like this fucking retarded shit. And in reality, you're a man or you're a woman and your rights are from God. You're not a human being. That's a horrible definition. They've got, and that's the problem is that people are like, no, it doesn't mean that. It's go look up fucking Bouvier's or what is it, Ballantyne's. That's what they define a human being as. And we're operating, especially when you're going to not roll the window down and you're going to grab your gun and you're going to be whatever. You're a fucking monster and you're proving them right. You're proving them right when you want to go get physical with them because they're saying, look, they're monsters, bro. They have no moral ethic. You can't reason with these people.
But I
And so
said
you're
I was a
proving.
man.
Well, I'm just saying, like, when you, right, but by your actions and by your fruit, you shall know them. So you could say you're a
Yeah,
man, you could say you're a king, but if you don't behave like a king or a man, then you're not a fucking king and you're not a man.
right. But do you think King David would put up with that?
I don't know what King David would do. I don't know precisely, but I just know, like, you're not King David. Everyone else isn't King David. And nobody's like a warring tribe in the Middle East right now we're living comfortably in a society that functions beautifully.
The police are the warring tribe. What are you talking about?
Well, if you're the king, then they're the king's men, right? If you were given dominion over the earth, then those men are the king's men, right? And you're the king. So why are you going to be mean to your people?
Why are my people kidnapping me and holding me for ransom?
I don't know. Look at
If
Joseph.
I'm the king.
By
Yeah, but that wasn't his people. He was sold into another tribe. Ha ha ha.
his brothers.
Let my people go.
But point is that like they fucking we have a beautiful system that functions. And you're essentially like we live in a time that kings of old that they didn't have running water, they didn't have a bathroom, they didn't have fucking all the things that we have now. We live better than King David probably did. And so you have the king's men, which are the soldiers, the officers. And if you treat them like they're your army, they're going to be much more amicable than if you treat them as a foreign enemy. And so they don't know who you are, so therefore you have to prove to them that you're not a physical threat, that you are the king by your behavior, and that they're there to protect you. But if you don't look at it like that and it's confrontational right away, then it's never going to happen like that. They're just going to steamroll you, and that's what they're built for. That's
I
why.
got one good video. Which I had a lot of attention on me, but they left without paperwork, without much more than harassing me for almost an hour. It proves lack of jurisdiction. So then you escalated it to threatening my life by breaking my windows, dragging me out of the car, destroying my reputation, probably ruining the food in the back. For your misunderstanding? But it's my fault.
Bro, they will arrest you and put your kid in CPS if they don't care about your spoiled food in the
Yeah,
back. They don't fucking.
those are all acts of terrorism, by the way, after committing the first 5 felonies. Remember, you stopped me, you're not an emergency, you're falsifying an emergency to the public and to me, which is a felony. That's called yelling fire in a theater, by the way. It's a felony crime. So you turned on lights without an emergency. My headlights or whatever, tail lights out, big whoop. But I don't have what you want me to have. And I ask you, who says I have to have such things? Well, I do. Okay. Stalemate, right? Why do you say I have to have such things? Well, everybody does. Cool. That's your interpretation. And so what?
Well, like when the officer says, "Well, it's not me, sir. It's actually according to state statute, blah 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 blah." Like it's not me. It's just it's the rules of how it goes. Like can I have a license and registration, please? Like I
Oh,
just think
wonderful.
like
Let me see that law book you carry around in your car. I'd just like to take a gander at it, please. I think you're incorrect here.
I mean I don't know. I just think they're gonna be like, well, sir, I don't have the law book, but I know that I'm obligated to make sure you have a valid license and registration. So do you have valid license and registration?
Right. But here's the problem. I'm a practical common man. I'm just a farm boy, right? You just lied to me, sir. That makes everything you do from here on out fraud. You said you had it, but then when I asked you for it, you said, well, I don't have it. So now I can't trust you. Anything that you say, you're not credible even to
Well, they're gonna
yourself.
say, sir, you're driving on a public roadway, and you're supposed to have a driver's license and registration. Do you have one, or do you not have one?
Well, who says I have to have one?
All right, sir. Can you please just step out of the vehicle?
Well, that's insane. You went straight to another crime.
Yeah, that's nice. Now, could you get out of the vehicle? What are you gonna
Yeah, but
say?
no.
And you think that's
Can
going to
I?
work out for you?
Absolutely, whenever I want to. And right now, I don't want to. I don't trust you. You're a liar,
I
and
don't. I tell you,
you're
what, you know,
committing
Carlos,
crimes.
when you talk like this, like I doubt you've had almost any interaction with the actual police. Like I think like you're literally like the I've had 500 street fights kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like I never
I
lost.
know, I know. False
Because
comparison.
like,
Go
dude,
ahead, do it again.
no,
Do
no,
it
I'm just
again.
saying, like, dude, that's not how it goes down though. Like, and if you're not
Do
trying
it
to get your
again.
windows blasted out,
Well,
Bro,
dude, I see the
this is
benefit
what
in
I
saying
do.
like,
You
hey,
asked what I do.
I'll get
This
out
is
of the
what I do.
car on the condition, that my rights aren't, that my rights are preserved and blah blah blah. Like you could create a condition. I think that's probably a smart move. Because
Yeah,
that means you're
if
playing ball. You're playing ball with this tyrant. Now you may know they're a tyrant, but guess what? They're at your door. That's like just like putting your fingers in your ears and going, no, 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 ain't gonna stop the guy at your door.
actually, it did work once. That was actually pretty
Oh,
funny.
one time. Wow. So you found the only cuck in the police department and it
Well,
worked in your
I
favor.
tried
Other
tried
than
a bunch
that,
of
they're
different
armed
stuff.
to the gills, my dude. You need to know how to navigate in that. Am I wrong?
Right, which is why I don't tell everyone to do the exact same thing. I got a script that I go by. What's the emergency? How can I help? There's no emergency. That's 5 felonies right there. Standing outside my window, bro. What? Who do I call now? Where's the law enforcement? I got a guy standing outside my windows, just committed 5 felonies. 5. And you're going to tell me it's okay for him to keep going. He's about to get 27, no matter what I say. Doesn't matter what I say. I have rights. He doesn't care. And you're telling me to play with he doesn't care that I might not get a baton up my butt? You're crazy. It's crazy
I
out
care
here.
about my butt, so.
Right, but here's the thing. My buddy Cameron, he's from California. He thought we were all crazy about getting stopped by the police, not having plates, turning all our tags in, having liens on our cars, still being messed with, but legally covering our bases where technically the police have absolutely zero authority to fuck with us at all, ever. And they still do. Guess what? Cameron travels the country now. He's helping different people as he travels, helping them with their paperwork and showing up and helping them in court, which is what I wanted to do. Guess what? He's getting messed with everywhere he goes in every other state because California had already changed this, and where he lives in his part of California, they don't mess with you if you don't have a license because they know the law. They've had it crammed in their face by the people. What you don't have everywhere else is that. The people don't know it. The people aren't enforcing it on anything. They all think you have to do something because this police state said so, that's supposed to be following the law that they don't even know. You don't know. But then you're going to tell me to agree with them, and it's like, oh my God, none of y'all know the law. Oh, this is weird. It's Twilight Zone for me. You
hey,
think I...
Steve asked an interesting question in the chat about Jesus walking on water, and if you look at it, Jesus is walking on the sea of commerce.
That's what I'd say. He understood the law. How about
Hey,
that other
guess
one?
what people...
How about that other
Guess
one?
what...
How about the other one? Two different common law, water law. What about that, Isaac?
Well, like actually, like common law. That's why the whole theory that Christ came with like he was confirming the old law, but it was a new law, right? Because you had the idea that the common law was like, let's say Judaism, and the what's the other term? Like, I don't want to say admiralty, but equity or whatever, that kind of shit. Like, that law was the law that Jesus was talking about. So the Sea of Commerce, you can walk on the Sea of Commerce, and the idea is like, there's an interesting story when one of them was asked, you know, hey, do we pay taxes? And and I think it was Peter, one of them said, yes, we do pay taxes. And then Jesus came to him and said, why did you tell him we pay taxes? And he said, well, I didn't know what, you know, what to say. He said, go to the ocean, or go to the sea rather, and go and get a fish, or get a fish and pull the coin out of his mouth, and go give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Right? So there's like a bit of an allegory there. So the idea is that there's like this process regarding the Sea of Commerce where you grab a gold coin out of the fish's mouth, which is like, what the fuck's going on? But there is a process, and therefore you can walk on the Sea of Commerce. So the Christ is showing us coming out of common law into the law of equity. And Christ is the way through in the law of equity. And he doesn't abandon the old law. He came to confirm the old law and establish this new thing, which is the law of equity. And
Which is
that's why Christ says all your sins are forgiven and all your debts are paid. And only through me can you get through this.
that's right. But law is something that's same thing. We've been skipped over it, and people aren't aware of it. That's why I call you guys out a little bit. I don't have a problem with what you're saying. I have a problem with making sure we're getting the right message of you basically have to be a lawyer individually, like everything. That's just the way that man operates.
Well, if man has dominion over the earth, then he better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
there's no
yeah,
excuses. There's no excuses.
exactly.
And anyone who's gonna be like, well, I didn't, you know, it's so complicated, and that's cool, dude. Just go fucking get in line with the rest of the other people that don't
Yeah,
want to fucking fight this battle.
yeah, get behind me. I think somebody said.
You know, or whatever. Not even like, what care I about someone who's just gonna be a retard?
Yeah,
That's just gonna be like a bag of rocks. And like, you know, and I just think like, you know, even the Bible said, like, you know, you can't on the day of judgment, nobody is his brother's keeper, man. On the day of judgment, you're gonna stand alone. So you better know your business. And no one's coming to save you type shit. And that's why, unless you call upon the Christ, but you have to call upon the Christ correctly, not in some, you know, even Christ says, many will come in my name. Many will shout Jesus this and that, the other thing. And I will look at them and say, I do not know you.
Yeah, because talk's cheap.
But no, it's not, because actually Christ says through him, you know, through the belief and the faith, and, you know, I am the way and the light and the truth, and this is the way through. And no one gets to the Father but through me. That's why I'm saying when they asked Jesus, "Are you the King of the Jews?" He said, "Is it you that says that, or did somebody tell you?"
You know, I got a problem with that story because a couple of the other versions don't
You probably got a
shine
lot of
him in the
problems.
light like this, bro. He's not this you're gonna step on him kind of guy. Not
Well, I
even
mean,
by a long shot.
I'm of the opinion it's kind of intriguing, or the way I look at it is like, you know, Christ said to Pontius Pilate, said, "Hey, is it you that says, or are you the King of the Jews?" Christ answers with a conditional acceptance. Is it you that says that, or did somebody tell you? And Pontius Pilate goes, "I don't want nothing to do with this." Essentially
He
letting
just
him off the hook.
challenged it.
And then
He
I'm not done.
challenged the accusation.
And then he fucking and then they release Barabbas. And Barabbas in Hebrew means the son of the father. And that's why in my reading of this, you know, that's why the Muslims say they did not crucify him. They made it appear as though he was crucified. He was never crucified. And the idea is that Christ walked. He wasn't killed. He conditionally accepted Pontius Pilate. The Jews had no recourse. They released Barabbas, who's the son of the father. The crucifixion never happened, and that's just a pagan fairy tale. And
Yeah,
everyone
the
wants you to think
crucifixion
that you
never.
can't, everyone wants you to think that you can't win, that everyone's a liar. It's all fraud. The system's against you. Look what they did to Jesus. But they didn't fucking crucify Jesus. Jesus walked. But nobody wants to look at the details, which is
Well, that's a
Barabbas was
problem.
released. And Barabbas is the son of the father in fucking Hebrew. It's like, it's so fascinating that even the Christ may have walked through the system and gotten away. But even still, the propaganda is, nuh-uh, they crucified him. They're all road pirates and everybody's a criminal.
Well, actually, Pontius would have dealt with the guys that would have put his hands on him, so the criminals would have been dealt with. See, the Romans didn't play with falsely accusing Roman citizens, especially, or foreign people that are actually
I don't even know.
accumulated. Yeah, they're acclimated into the culture, have jobs and stuff. They really didn't look lightly on that, bro. False
What's the
accusations
re-
to get you put on a spike.
what's the relevance of you saying that?
Because you have righteousness versus unrighteousness, and we're okay. 5 felonies, knock knock, driver's license, right? 6 felony. If you don't, I'm gonna break your window. 7 felony. That's communicating a threat, verbal threat, and then that you're gonna touch me. That's 8, 9, 10. You break the window. That's burglary. 11. Creeping to 27 real fast.
Yo, did
Now,
Christ say
I
to the
didn't say I
Roman
always do
soldiers?
this.
Did Christ say to the Roman soldiers that came to get him? Was he like, that's 5 felonies, that's 6 felonies, that's fucking? Is that what Jesus said?
No, actually, he didn't do what the story
Okay.
says either, though. What's
Oh, but
written down has been
you know what he did
whitewashed.
though.
It's
Okay.
been whitewashed. We just went over this, that the story isn't even correct, right? That he didn't get crucified, right? Right? Wrong. Right. Right. Okay. So then, previous parts of the story, which is where I started, they're incorrect as well. Many of them, because he wasn't just some lay down, you're gonna walk over me man. He had the Holy Spirit with him, bro.
No, he was to conditionally accept the offer and fucking walk free and be a badass and actually get away from the bastards that tried to kill him. He wasn't like,
Well,
that's the 6 felony, that's the
they
fucking
tried
whatever, and
to
I'm not a
come.
man to be messed with. He didn't
They tried
physically
to
try to
come and
fight them. He didn't do anything like that. Anything that you've said has nothing to do with what Jesus did.
well, one of the other stories is that while he was healing people, they tried to come with soldiers, and they couldn't get him because he wasn't no sissy, but he had the Holy Spirit. So there is the difference between me and him, right? He could knock down a whole platoon of men with a wave of a hand. I can't.
Yeah, but where does it say that he ever did that? That's not what he did though, right?
You might want to check some of the other stories.
All right, what's your
Yeah,
source? What's the source? What's your story?
a Muslim friend.
Your Muslim friend. Okay, we're talking about like the scripture and law, and you're like, well, my Muslim friend
Uh,
one time. Come on,
No,
bro. What's
I know, but they have a good story about Jesus. And then you have the original text where some of these stories that, like you're saying, the crucifixion didn't happen in the original text, didn't,
show me where he
right?
fucking used the Holy Spirit to fucking destroy some Roman soldiers that were coming to arrest him, please.
That one I'd have to go find a site. Yeah.
That's what I'm asking for. Because this shit's already complicated enough. I don't fucking, I'm just saying, like, it's, I don't know. I don't really care, I guess.
I believe it would be the Arabic Bible.
The Arabic Bible is the same Bible that we all got. It's just,
A lot
just
of
written
things
in,
have been
just
changed,
written in
though.
Arabic.
I'm just taking it on my dial a friend, okay? I dialed a friend. He dialed me back. I gave you an answer. I don't know everything, bro. Never even play like I do. I just try to get people to see other perspectives. Sometimes dude walks up, bro, here's the license and the registration in my hand. I don't give a shit. Depends on the day. But when I know the dude's stalking me, bro, absolutely have an attitude. You know why? Because I already know I'm going to jail. Because some of these guys are just crazy. Others will just write you a ticket. But you don't know who you're playing with until you start talking. Howdy, what's the emergency? How can I help? If you think that's threatening, you need to be in a padded cell.
Well, like,
Oh,
uh,
in the cop's handbook, you skipped over that one too, where the first thing is de-escalation. All you guys have been talking about is strict escalation only, which is also against the law. So you're talking law about a criminal that's literally not following the law. This in his handbook is written down what he's not legally allowed to do. But he's just doing whatever he wants to anyway. And you're trying to negotiate with crazy. Fascinating that you think you can.
You're supposed to give him your other cheek, bro. Just gotta let him step all over you. That's the way it works.
well, no, look at it like even like I used to get all into when I used to do my thing flat Earth court. Like part of my thing was we would explain law, like we'd go over a topic, and then we would debate flat Earth, and I would use the exact same tactics that I just tried to explain about legalese in the flat Earth debate. So when they say like turn the other cheek, like I know some people argue, well, actually it was an insult, or I don't want to get into that. The idea is the general acceptance is that you turn the other cheek. So when you go into debate flat Earth and you bring up some awesome point about like the horizon or light or Rayleigh's criterion or corpuscular rays or whatever great point you're making, and one of the ballers steps up and says, "You're a fucking stupid fat flat earther," right? You're supposed to just go, "And did you answer the question?" And so that's not bowing down to the man. That's not fucking accepting the insult. That is rejecting the effectiveness of whatever they've just provided. And so that is more effective than trying to be like, I'm not fat. I'm not lazy. I'm not an idiot. I'm really smart.
Right,
And
right,
so
right, right.
if you're gonna fight that fight of like, well, you called me fat and I'm clearly not fat. I'm gonna take a picture and show you how skinny I am. And then like now you're on arguing about some shit that they wanted to argue about, and you fucking lost the plot. If you turn the other cheek and say that might be true, but don't crepuscular rays kind of show that there is an optical dome? Right? Like that's an effective argument, and you're turning the cheek, winning the war, and accepting some retarded insult that is meaningless. So when you turn the
But
other
like,
cheek, then you deal with like if the judge says, well, your paperwork is all useless and this is all shit and you're a fucking stupid sovereign citizen, and you go, that might be true, Your Honor, but isn't there a motion for a dismissal before the court on the grounds that a failure
So
to
you're
provide a
saying
genuine accused
do it or not
charging
do it.
instruction?
I can't
I'm saying
follow you.
I'm saying like rolling with a punch. You like if you go into no, I'm saying you don't respond to them calling you fat, stupid, and lazy. You just win the argument. If
So you're
they're in
saying
fact,
don't turn the other cheek then, right? Am I hearing
no, I
you
am saying
correctly?
turn the other. No, you're
But you
turning the
just said
cheek.
that accepts. I'm just lost. I don't know.
No, no,
it's a
no.
good example
Hold on,
if
no,
you'll just
Cuddles. So
slow
hold on. Let me
down.
get this. Let's
It's
go point by point. I don't want to fucking
Cuddles
talk. Hold
wanted
on.
a turn though. Cuddles wanted a turn. I can wait.
they want to catch up and they need an example. What you gave is a great example, right? The cop stopping me is them coming over to like say my fishing server, the Globers, and starting to talk and starting to fight, right? So you stopped me. And now you want to debate, right? You want to debate about Globe, but this is a fishing server. This is my fishing server. You came over here to my fishing server, and now you're gonna take my fishing server away from
I
me.
don't know what we're talking about right now. Let me deal with this
That's a good
fucking
one.
issue real quick with Don.
You guys are
That makes sense to
are
you?
you guys saying
That
like a
makes
cop
sense.
is going to
Okay, all
pull
right,
you
I'm out.
over? Hold on, dude. Hold on. You guys are talking about cops going to pull you over and question you about celestial theodolite.
Dude, what I'm saying, we need to be, remember, guys, low IQ people can't think laterally. Let's not be low IQ people, okay? So, what I'm saying is that if you're in a conversation with somebody and you're making a decent point about whatever, could be about baking bread, flat earth, or why they've pulled you over on the side of the road, it's inconsequential. We're dealing with principles here. So whether it be from the side of the road, I'm just using as an example, like I used to do on my show, was that I would discuss law, conditional acceptances, and then we would debate flat earth, and I would use all of those concepts in order to debate the globers. Now, the interesting thing is that if they're going to call you fat, stupid, and ugly just for being a flat earther, right? You would turn the other cheek to that insult, i.e., not address it, not give a fuck about it, accept it, upon condition that they answer your initial question about whatever the relevant
Okay,
topic
I get
was.
it. I get it. Can you see my confusion where the first time you said not to accept it, you were just kind of like you gave an example of ignoring it, saying like, so what does it have to do with anything? And you just moved on. Were both examples turning the other cheek, basically?
Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna, well, I mean, like, turning the other cheek is just letting that punch go. Like, they're gonna call you fat, stupid, and ugly, but it doesn't matter because you know you're in a flat earth debate with a bunch of ballers that their only recourse is to call you fat and stupid and a stupid flat earther. So you're not gonna be concerned about that because it's generally accepted that that's what they're gonna do. So you're gonna turn the other cheek when they say you're a stupid flat earther and you're gonna come back to the issue at hand. So that's why what turn the other cheek
Okay.
means is that you're sitting there, like if I'm dealing with an officer on the side of the road and they say, well, we want to search your vehicle, I'm going to say, I'd love to. You know what I mean? So long as you agree, you may be denying equal protection due process of law. And then he's going to
Well,
say, well, hold on, I'm not done. He's going to say, well, you sound like a stupid sovereign citizen fuck, right? And then I might be like, well, regardless of whether or not I'm a sovereign citizen, fuck, wouldn't you still be denying equal protection due process of law? So I'm not going to get harped up on like I'm not a stupid sovereign citizen. I'm a smart guy. I'm a fucking well-educated person. And like no, I'm not going to address that. I'm going to deal with the real substance of the issue in front of me, not some superficial fucking slight of comment. Some degrading comment that's meaningless. And if I do that, and if I start delving into the fact that they've called me stupid, I've already lost. So I get too animated with this shit. It really doesn't fucking matter, I guess. Whoever's speaking is roboting like crazy.
Sounds like it might be electric. Maybe. Is he here? Yeah, it might be him.
But yeah, when like
Yo,
people say like turning the other cheek is like a bitch move or this, that, the other thing, it's like that's not, and then you're just rolling over for the man and you're gonna take the boot on your neck. It's like that's not what it is. It's exactly not that. It's exactly like dealing with the substance of the matter. It's like when you can deal with when you know what matters and you pay attention to that versus what doesn't matter, which is them saying anything against you. So it's like they're gonna call you fat, stupid, lazy. It's like it's meaningless. So you turn the other cheek to that meaninglessness. And that's the point of that in regards to law, is that you're just gonna you're gonna come in and it's guaranteed. I mean, shit. My last case, the prosecutor the whole time was, "Oh, your paper, you're meaningless. You should just fucking bow down. Just accept the fucking charge, to pay the fine." Blah 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 blah. And all I used to say to, or all I was saying to him in the whole process was like, "Well, we'll see, won't we?" I guess we'll have to take it to trial and see, won't we? And then I fucking won. And the dude shook my hand when we were done, telling me what a great job I'd done. But the whole fucking time he's sitting there telling me, "Oh, your paperwork's meaningless. You're fucking stupid. Da 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 da. Just there's no way you're getting out of this." You know, and I'm not. If I'd have like argued those points with him, I would be in dishonor. Instead, I was like, "Well, we'll see what they say, right, bud?" And I'm just saying, like, you know, that's what the turning the other cheek is. It's not about being passive. It's about being properly passive. Passive about the right things. And stubborn about what you can be stubborn about, what you have right to be stubborn about. You know, it's like like with Jesus. If they just said, "Are you the king of the Jews?" and he'd be like, "Well, I guess so. I guess I am." You know, that's not turning the other cheek. He said, "Is it you that says that, or did somebody tell you, bud?" And Pontius Pilate said, "I don't want none of this. Fuck that. Hand him over to the fucking Jews." You know, like, you know, and that's what this is about, man. You have like a legal ability to defend yourself, but it's an honor and it's not a disrespect. So you're remaining in honor and being consistent while their only mode of apparatus is argument and to disrespect you. And when it comes in before judgment, honor matters. That's why when we behave in a certain way or act a certain way, it's because, you know, it's not bootlicking, it's addressing the matters that matter. You know, it's like if I got in a fight, like, I mean, it's like being in New York City and everybody looks at you the funny way and you're going to fight everybody. Well, you're never going to do what you want to do. You're never going to get to where you were trying to get to. You're going to be too, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? But now you're fucking warring in the streets. You know what I mean? And it's like you wanted to go to the club and hang out with your girlfriend, but now you're in a fight on the side of the road for no fucking reason. And like, that's what you're trying to avoid. And some people are like, well, you don't want to fight? You must be a pussy. It's like, no, I want to go hang out with my girlfriend at the club and have a good fucking evening. I'm sorry. You know, I don't want to fucking join your revolution.
Well, I thank you, Isa.
All right, welcome, man. You know,
I can go over to summarize. Getting pulled over situation, be as compliant as should be. Like you said, grant what's grantable and protect what was the term you used? Protect what
oh
you
yeah,
should.
just be stubborn about what you can. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know, just protect what you have the right to protect, and then you know, and also understand you know, if you're in a vehicle that's got a VIN number that was registered that has a license plate in it, they're expecting you to have a driver's license. That's not
And
to
then
say you couldn't. That's not to say you couldn't fucking, you know, use language well enough to make it so you didn't have to present it. It's all possible, but it's about how you do it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it, right?
and when the unreasonable search and seizure comes up, be like, well, yeah. The first it was like against my will and under threat of duress or arrest.
Over my
So
objection, under threat,
over my
duress,
objection.
under threat, duress,
And
and coercion.
the first one you say to him is the due process. Are you sure you want to violate the due process? How did you phrase that?
Wouldn't it be a denial of equal protection and due process?
Equal protection due process. Wouldn't it be a denial? And okay, again, with my objection and under threat of duress and arrest.
Well, no, like here's the thing. If you were to say,
I got
well, wouldn't it be a denial of equal protection due process of law? And that cop goes, well, I don't give a shit. Get out of the vehicle. That's when you might say, well, over my objection under threat, duress, and coercion, I'll do what you want me to do and say what you want me to
right,
say.
right.
You know, because that at that point they're ending the negotiations. So you always want to be the one that's continuing the line of negotiation and let them be the one that's going to say nuh-uh. And then when they tell you nuh-uh and they're going to threaten you with physical force, that's when you could say, okay, wait, you know, you think in your mind, okay, you're not being reasonable. I'll do what you want me to do over my objection under threat, duress, and coercion. Because we've lost the ability to negotiate. So now I'm just going to grant that whatever you do is over my objection and you're going to accept full responsibility for it. And that's what makes them think to the, because usually somebody goes, "Nuh-uh, you can't do it." And as soon as you say fucking no, as soon as you say no, or I do not consent, or nuh-uh, or didn't do it, or any kind of implication of nuh-uh or no, they have jurisdiction because you've created a problem. And as soon as you create a problem, well, they're the peacekeepers. So they're gonna fucking end the problem and they're gonna fucking provide peace. That might mean a boot on your neck. That you know what I mean? If you're not gonna act appropriately. But
I
like
got a cool one for you. Oh,
mm,
go ahead. You can finish, but I got one.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
So I got into a funny one with the trespassing, um, because it was a big company with like multiple agents, and one of the agents told me to leave, but like I was leaving, and on my way out, I was trying to approach like the head person in charge, and then the police approached, and they wanted to do the trespassing thing and like forced to give me the ID and stuff. So I don't know that technically is it that the police have to tell you to leave first and then it's trespassing if you come back, or basically if they tell you, like if an agent tells you, the resident or agent or whoever tells you to leave and you don't, can the cops already, if they wanted, press a trespass charge on you right there? Because we know there got to be like the charge to show the ID type of situation. But it's like if I was already gone, I definitely would never show my ID. But since they kind of caught me in the middle, it felt a little weird. But I didn't get charged. So that's what made it like, well, damn, why should they? They're not charging me with anything. They really don't have a right to my ID, right?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of like yeah, you're you know, you do have rights in regards to like not giving up the ID or something like that in certain sense. But usually, because usually if they're gonna come over, they're like I've seen it on these body cam fucking footage where they're like, hey, just leave the property. And then the person is like, well, why do I have to leave the property? And then they're like, all right, we're gonna need some identification. You
Right.
could either leave or we'd like to see some identification. They're gonna give you a way out if they're just there to get you off the property. Unless they actually want to trespass you or something like that. And in that case, then they need your ID because they're going to make a fucking actual complaint against your person. But if
Right, but they
you could
don't.
even,
That's the thing is they don't get to do that because they need to just make a note of it without my legal ID. They need to know it was this person. They need to have a picture, whatever. But like I could be walking down the street and a million homeowners could be like, calling the police and saying, I want that person never to come on my property. The police don't just get to come and stop me and get my ID. I never committed a crime. I didn't go on their property, or if I didn't, they told me to leave. Like if I walk up to your door and I say, I'm Jehovah's Witness, and you go, get off my property, and I do, and then they want to call the police and go, I want to make him trespass. The cops can't just come and just get your ID so that they can say they made a note to tell you not to go on their property. They can't do that. I don't think.
no, I mean, to some degree, you're right. It's just, I also remember in the backdrop of all that, I mean, I agree with you. You're right, and like you would have rights to defend that. But remember the context is that in their mind, in this system, the backdrop of what we're dealing with is that you're presumed to be a United States citizen on United States property, or county property, or whatever the jurisdiction is, and you're considered to be on that property. Therefore, like the U.S. citizen is an enemy of the state. That's why you're guilty before innocent, kind of thing, and that's where they can use that to say, no, you need to show us your ID. You could take it to court and beat it, but at the same time, if you've listened to what they said and get your Jehovah's Witness off my property and you leave, and an officer comes up and says, hey, I'm getting complaints of you walking around. Are you going up to people's houses as Jehovah's Witness? And you're saying, yeah, I did, but I left as soon as they told me. That officer, more likely than not, will be like, hey, man, just, maybe go to another neighborhood because these guys don't seem to want you around here. And then you would be like, you're right. I'm not trying to cause a problem. Have a nice day, sir. But if you give them lip and you say, but I'm delivering the word of Jesus and everyone needs to know, and and you're like, I'm trying to save everybody, they might be like, sir, do you have any identification? You know what I mean? Like, and they have the right to do it because of the backdrop of the fact that you're presumed to be a United States citizen, which is collateral on a national debt, and you're property of the United States. That's why they can do everything that they do. That's the backdrop. Now you can whittle out of that, but I'm just saying, like, that's the backdrop that we're operating in. Hey, I'm gonna get moving for a little bit though. Good talking to you guys. I'll come back in a little bit maybe. But bless.